Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're back for our latest Pali class. This is, I believe, class number 17 of 19. We've certainly come a long way, and so I'm very excited to bring you another session of looking at the Giảng and Karuna Tilaka, a new course in reading Pali on behalf of the Buddhist Association of the United States. And so here we are. I hope some of you were able to join or at least tune into part of the wonderful retreat that was offered online this past weekend, given by Venerable Bodhi. It's up on YouTube. So if you haven't, you certainly haven't missed it in that sense. But without any further ado, let me call up my text and share the screen. And so I hope you can see my text from Giảng and Karuna Tilaka. And we are in lesson 4, further readings. And we have looked a little bit at the beginning. This is the Anguttara Nikaya, Book of Twos, section number 5, Parisa Vagga. And so Vagga we've looked at a few times in the sort of book context. It means a chapter, but it also means, actually right here in these readings, it means a division in not a good sense. And a parisa is an assembly. It's a feminine noun ending in long A. And we talked about the sort of classic assembly, the classic parisa, which is often called the fourfold assembly, which is consisting of the bhikkhus, the bhikkhunis, the upasikas, and the upasukas. So that would be the male monks, the male monastics, the female monastics, the female lay disciples or female lay followers, and the male lay followers. And we talked a little bit here, still remaining on my text, how the word upasaka and upasika is actually derived. It's based upon the root as, which means to sit. It's actually, there is a verb to sit using this root, but I think it's not so common. But here we know the word asana, which is a seat. We've had that from Pali Primer, and so upa would be nearby, sitting nearby, and the cut would make it here a noun. So one who sits nearby is an upasaka or a upasika, depending on one's gender. So I think we can start with 43. We did this first part in the last session. And so we have Dve ma bhikkhave parisa kattama dve. And so here, Dve ma is a contraction of Dve plus ima. Ima is our demonstrative female plural pronoun. Yes, and it means this. So there are these two assemblies. And so we also spoke a little bit how the parisa here is functioning as a plural. What are the two? The vagga cha parisa and the samagga cha parisa. The divided assembly and the united assembly. Katamacha bhikkhave vagga parisa. And what, O monks, is the divided assembly? And so notice that here in these sentences where you are not using the verb to be, the copula, it's not necessary. We don't always have it. Okay, and so we have ida bhikkhave yasang parisayang bhikkhu bandhana jata kalha jata vivadapana viharanti. So ida is here, meaning in this case, and then O monks, our vocative, and our subject of the sentence is the plural masculine you noun, bhikkhu, monks, bhikkhus, in this assembly. So this is our locative, using the feminine locative of ya, and then this is a locative, and they are dwelling, viharanti, notice the plural. And so viharanti means to dwell, but it is often used in a much more sort of abstract sense. They sort of are, maybe. It's often somewhat similar to the verb to be. It doesn't always mean that one is living in an actual place. And they are said to be bandhana jata. They're argumentative, kalaha jata, disputing, vivadapana, which means entering into arguments. And so I just wanted to point out this word vivada is built upon this participle apana, which you might know because of the famous word sotapana, which is made up of the word for stream, sota, plus apana. So apana is a participle which means entered upon. And so a sotapana is one who has entered upon the stream. It's the past participle of the verb apajati. But here, vivadapana would be those who have entered into arguments. And ayang vuchati bhikkhave vagga parisa. This, O monks, is called the divided assembly. And so here I think this is where we actually let off. So the obvious next question would be, Katama cha bhikkhave samagga parisa. And what, O monks, is the united assembly? And here, ida bhikkhave, here, O monks, the monks of this, in this assembly, and now they're described as samagga, united, samodhanamana, they're in agreement. Notice here this mana suffix, present participle mana suffix, plural, avivadamana. So they're not arguing. So notice it's a different suffix here from apana, having entered into arguments. Here they are not arguing, using that mana present participle suffix. And here, this word which I love, they're described as kirodiki bhuta. So this is actually a fairly common, special sort of metaphorical expression used in Pali. And so it's the word for milk is like milk from a cow is kira, and then we have a word for water, odika. So milk and water, and bhuta is based on bhavati. So they become like, or they blend, and so they are said to blend like milk and water, which means that they blend very well, not, for instance, like oil and water. So they're harmonious. They blend like milk and water. So this is how they are viharanti. This is how they are dwelling. This is how they are with each other. Ayang vuchati bhikkhave samagga parisa. Ima ko bhikkhave dve parisa. This is called, O monks, the united or harmonious assembly. These are indeed, O monks, the two assemblies. So that's this section. Of course, in the Book of Twos, there are many different kinds of twos, two things. So it's not the only two things. Let's look at another one. This is now, we skip a little bit to number 49. Dve ma bhikkhave parisa, katama dve. Again, there are these two assemblies, O monks. What two? Visama cha parisa, sama cha parisa. So here we have the word sama. Notice that it has one M. So it is not the samma that we have so commonly associated with, say, samma samadhi, sammaditthi, right view, correct concentration. This is a totally different word, and it has the sense of even or equal or balanced, samma, one M. And the opposite, the negative, would be the visama, the unbalanced, say, assembly. So the question, of course, and we get the negative, the bad news first. And what, O monks, is the visama assembly? So we have the answer here. It's a little sort of long, but I think it's not too hard to understand. Here, O monks, yasang parisayang, in this assembly, adhamma kamani pavatanti, dhamma kamani na pavatanti. So here our verb is pavati. It is a word that means to go forward, to proceed to, or perform. It's actually a word that is related to a word that you might know, because in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the pavattana means the setting into motion. And this is, I believe, based upon that same root. But here it means to go forward to. But here, in this very instance, I think it's probably best translated as something more like proceed or perform. They perform adhamma kamani. And so kamani are actions, because keep in mind the word kamma, action or deed, is a neuter noun. So the plural is that ani ending, kamani, and a dhamma would be not in accordance with the dhamma. So they perform actions not in accordance with the dhamma, we can say in a sort of basic sense. And na pavatanti. They do not perform, that's the negative, dhamma kamani, actions in accordance with the dhamma. And furthermore, they are avinaya kamani pavatanti, vinaya kamani na pavatanti. They perform actions against the vinaya. So we have the dhamma and the vinaya. So this is the sort of monastic code in a literal sense, the discipline. They perform actions not in accordance with the vinaya, and they don't perform actions in accordance with the vinaya. And now, furthermore, they're described as adhamma kamani dipanti, dhamma kamani na dipanti. So the verb dipati has a literal sense of to shine, and I'm sure it's related to the word we've had before of dipa, which is a lamp, and a lamp gives off light. But here, I think the sense is not really to shine, but it is that it's sort of, these actions are brought to light. They're sort of explained. And so here, the actions not in accordance with Dhamma are brought to light. They shine forth in that way. The actions in accordance with the Dhamma are not brought to light. Same thing with the Vinaya. Avinaya kamani dipanti, Vinaya kamani na dipanti. Ayang vuchite bhikkhave visama parisa. So this is called, O monks, the unbalanced assembly. Okay, so that I think is pretty easy to understand, even though it's a lot of words. And what we often see is this kind of very sort of logical explanation of the positive and the negative, and the positive. So now I'd like a volunteer to come and help me with the converse. This is the Samaparisa. Okay. So Fiakra, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Would you like to take us through the Samaparisa, but first read it a bit first?
Okay. Katama cha bhikkhave sama parisa. Ida bhikkhave yasang parisayang dhamma kamani pavatanti. Adhamma kamani na pavatanti. Vinaya kamani pavatanti. Avinaya kamani na pavatanti. Dhamma kamani dipanti, adama kamani na dipanti, vinaya kamani dipanti, avinaya kamani na dipanti.
Right.
Ayang vuchati bhikkhave sama parisa, ima ko bhikkhave dve parisa.
Good. So the word for the discipline is usually pronounced Vinaya, not
Vinaya.
Vinaya, because it's a only short A's.
Yes, sorry. So short A's then, and then the what was the I think there was another word that I was tripping on. Is it dipanti or dipanti?
Dipanti, probably.
Yes.
And Vuchati, not Vuchati, because that's also a short A.
Okay, yeah. So I seem to be doing that a lot.
Well, I think it's really because we're not used to seeing these precise values expressed on the page, so we have to get used to that. But that's fine. Okay,
Yeah.
so what does this all mean?
Okay, so what then, Bhikkhave, is the what then, Bhikkhave, is the even assembly.
Mm-hmm.
So this Bhikkhave, that so the assembly in which the deeds according to the Dhamma are done, and the deeds not according to the Dhamma are not done.
Okay.
And then the deeds according to the Vinaya are done, and the deeds not according to the Vinaya are not done. The deeds according to the Dhamma shine forth, the deeds not according to the Dhamma don't shine forth. Deeds according to the Vinaya shine forth, the deeds not according to it don't shine forth. This Bhikkhave is the even assembly. These, O bhikkhus, are the two assemblies.
Very good. Okay. So I hope that's clear to everyone. I think it's pretty easy to understand. If there are any questions, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, I think we can move right along to Dhammapada. So we have some pretty famous verses that you probably have looked at before in your life, perhaps in a language other than Pali. So this is our big opportunity to actually have the opportunity to look at them in the original language and see what's going on here. Okay, so here, this Vagga, this chapter is about Appamada, the heedful, or the diligence. And so number 21, Appamado amatapadang, pamado machono padang, appamata namiyanti ye pamata yata mata. Okay, so appamado, diligence, or heedfulness, that's our subject, our nominative singular, and it's being equated. So there's a verb to be that is sort of understood here, is amatapadang. It is the path to the deathless. And then the next subject is pamado, heedlessness or negligence. Is the padang, is the path, machuno, of death. So this is machu in the genitive. Heedlessness is the path of death. And now we have apamata na miyanti. The heedful ones do not die. So miyanti would be they, na miyanti, they do not die. Ye pamata yata mata. Those who, that's our ye, our relative pronoun, who are, that's of course omitted the are, pamata, heedless, those who are heedless, yata, are like mata, the dead, or they are like dead. So that is a sort of heavy-duty verse. Is there anyone who'd like to offer their translation if it seems different? Okay, we have Bonita.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Would you like to give us your actually, if
Mine
you
was
can,
a little different.
yeah, if you can read first the Pali, that would be great.
Okay. Appamado amata padang pamado machuno padang. Appamatta na miyanti ye pamatta yata mata.
Okay.
Mata, yeah. I said, like, while the diligent steps into the path of immortality, the negligent steps into the path of death. While the diligent ones do not die, the negligent ones are good as dead.
Okay, that's fine. That seems like I think that's pretty clear. I like that. Good. Did you
Thank you.
have any grammatical questions? It seems pretty clear.
No, I think
Don't?
basically I kind of understood
Okay.
them.
Good. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. I'll read you the K.R. Norman translation just for comparison. This is 21. Carefulness is the place of the death-free. Carelessness is the place of death. The careful do not die. The careless are as though already dead. So he's using careless and careful. It's also another choice. Okay, maybe we'll go on to 22. This is a little more tricky. So I'll read it first. Etang vise sato nyatva apamadamhi pandita apamade pamodanti ariyanang gochare rata. So here the subject of everything, I think, is pandita, the wise ones. That's our nominative masculine plural, the wise ones. So the wise ones, nyatva, right? This is our absolutive, having known or knowing. And what are they knowing? Etang visesato. So the word, well, the etam is this, and visesa, in a literal sense, means like a difference. But this is the to suffix ablative, and so it's functioning somewhat adverbally. So maybe particularly or especially. So, and then we have apamadamhi. So that is apamada in the locative, which means in regard to, we could say. So the wise ones, having known this especially in regard to heedfulness, apamade pamodanti, they rejoice in heedfulness. So this is another form of the locative with that e. Pamodanti is the verb plural going with referring to Pandita. So the they are the wise ones. They rejoice apamade, in the heedfulness, right? In diligence. And then the final line, Ariyanam gochare rata. So rata is a participle, past participle. We could translate it as delighting. I think it's ramati, it would be the verb, and rata would be the past participle. This is again referring to the wise ones. They are delighting gochare. So this is another locative. So a go is a cow. We've had that. The verb charity is to go. And so a place where cows go is a pasture or a field. But this word is often used in a somewhat metaphorical way. So it's not really a cow pasture, but rather a sort of like a realm, a field, a sphere. And then we have Ariyanam, of the noble ones, right? That would be our genitive plural. So the wise ones having, this is, of course, I should have said, this is somewhat of a follow-up to the prior verse, 21. So 22 is, the wise ones, having known this particular difference in regard to heedfulness, they rejoice in the heedful. They delight in the field of the noble ones. So that's a very literal translation. Let's take a look at K.R. Norman's. Learned men, knowing this especially in respect of carefulness, rejoice in carefulness, delighting in the realm of the noble ones. So he's using realm for gochara, delighting in the realm of the noble ones. And would anyone like to share theirs if it seemed very different, or if there's a grammatical point that's unclear? If not, we can go on. We have a question, I think. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, just a quick. Hi, how are you doing? So it's just a very quick question. The use of the locative for the concerning heedlessness.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we're not. I'm not familiar with that. Does that happen often, or?
Yeah, it's a
okay.
type of use of the locative, and it's not a spatial location. That's why I used in, that sort of a locative, in regard to, concerning, as you said. Okay. Would you like to read your translation?
So I actually I stumbled over this one. It was kind of hard, but I like but like we said, so the one who having understood the difference, so with regard to heedlessness,
yeah, but let me just say that you are correct that visesa is a difference, but it doesn't quite exactly mean that in this special adverbial ablative sense. It means particularly. Having known this, or distinctly, like they really know this. That's what the sort of more of the sense, as I understand it, is.
So is that an idiomatic use of it, like? Or?
Well, I would say that you can find this in the dictionary under visesa. I think that the special to ablative is given as a sort of special entry, and often I would say that the to suffix, the ablative to suffix, can imply this sort of adverbial sense.
Sure.
Okay. Read me your second half, please.
Okay, so then they rejoice in heedfulness, and they and then the last bit. So in the pasture of the noble ones, that they're delighting in.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, delighting in the pasture of the noble ones. Yes.
That's fine. I would say pasture seems a little weird to my ears to say where the noble ones might be,
Yeah.
but I understand the sense of it. But perhaps
Yeah.
somebody who didn't know the Pali word gochara might think it might have been a rather odd choice to use. But
Yes.
of course we're learning the Pali, so that's fine. I don't. It's not really a criticism, but just a sort of a, as having spoken to people who don't speak Pali and having them look at me like I'm a crazy person, I have this experience.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
I saw a hand which has disappeared. Was Mary. Well, maybe she'll reappear. If you had a question, please re-raise.
Stephen, there is a question from YouTube.
Okay.
Someone asks, why is the word machuno, why is it genitive?
Having the heedless is the path of death. So the of death, that is a genitive usage.
Could it be dative? Could it be to death?
I guess it could be to death. Yes. Genitive / dative, they share that
Okay.
case ending. Yes. Is that how you translated it?
I had it as genitive with of, but
Yeah, it could be dative. Genitive dative is perfectly fine.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. I think I saw Mary once again, but once again her hand is down. I'm not sure what to make of it. Maybe I'll just go on for now. Maybe that was her question. Okay, so Pandita Vago. So this is the chapter about the wise ones, the Pandits. Yatapi rahado gambiro vipassano anavilo evang dhammani sutvana vipassidanti pandita. Okay, so our subject here is rahado, which is a lake or a big pool of water. And yatapi is just as, just like. And the lake is being described with the adjective gambiro, deep. We've had this before. And it actually is being described in two additional ways, vipassano and unavulo. So here, vipassano is clear, and unavulo is not stirred up. And I should ask, or I should add, or give a sort of friendly warning that one should not look at this word and think of insight meditation, vipassana, with two S's, because this word is completely different. There's one S and two N's. And so this word is built upon, I'll write it here, actually, because we've had it, there's the verb passidati, which has several meanings, but one of it is to be bright, to be clear. It also has the sense of to be rejoice in, particularly in the teachings of the Buddha. And it has a past participle of passano. And so it's actually a fairly common word, passano. So bright, clear. And it seems to be with this prefix as an intensifier. So, how do I undo that? Okay. Maybe I'll leave it. So this is not vipassana, just to make sure. It's a past participle based on passidati. And so, having heard sutvana, so this is a somewhat more elegant form of the absolutive. We've had sutva. Having heard the Dhamma, right? The wise ones are serene or calm. And so here, this is very much related. This is the verb form of passano. So they are clear or calm. The wise ones are clear. So let me read you Norman's translation of 82. Just as a deep pool is calm and clear, so, hearing the teachings, learned men are calm. So notice here it's Dhamma in the plural, Dhammani. Okay, I think that one's pretty easy. If there are any questions, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, we can go on to the next one, which is the prior one. I'm not sure why they presented it in this kind of backwards order. Salo yata ekagano vatena na samirati evang ninda pasang sasu ni na samingjanti pandita. So, a cello is a rock, maybe a big rock. And this rock is being described as ekagano, which means solid, of one piece. And this is another pitfall, don't think that you're looking at a word with a long A, gano, which would mean a nose. So this has nothing to do with noses or the Sphinx, but it's a different word meaning solid. And the yata is just as. So just like, or just as, maybe just like a solid rock. Vatena na samirati. So here, na samirati is not blown, and we have our instrumental vatena, by the wind. So just like a large rock, or just like a rock is not blown by the wind. Evam ninda pasangsu. So here, thus, so ninda is praise, blame, and pasangsasu would be blame. I think, wait, I have it backwards. In blame and praise, yes. So pasangsasu would be a locative feminine, right? In blame and praise, na siminjanti. The wise ones, the panditas, are not blown around. They're not moved. So one more time. Just as, or just like yata, selo ekagano, a solid rock, na samirati, is not blown vatena, by the wind. Thus, ninda pasangsasu, in blame and praise, locative, pandita, the wise ones, na samingjanti, they are not moved, they're not blown around. Okay, we have Hui Lin. Are you there?
Yes. I use Samirati. I use the word not shaken. Is that acceptable?
It could be. I guess I would have to look it up.
All right. Thank you.
Let me look it up quickly. It's not a verb I've encountered very much. Let's look it up in the dictionary. If I could find it. Saminjati, to double up, if I have it right, to be moved or shaken. So you had said to, what was it? Say again.
Shaken. Yes, I use
Yep.
shaken.
Yeah, so it's just as it's in the dictionary. So that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Very good.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, that is 81. Diane, did you have a question?
Not really. I think the question was answered. Someone has been in Zoom and they've raised their hand, but apparently they couldn't unmute themselves.
I don't know. Well, maybe they can.
They said the host unallowed participant to unmute themselves. So,
Well,
host,
but did they voice their question there?
they voiced their question here and you answered it.
Okay. Well, I certainly did not intentionally. I've been actually asking constantly for questions.
Okay.
Catherine, do you have a question?
Yes, Stephen.
Hi.
Just now Stephen mentioned Ninda Pasam Sasu as a locative.
Yes.
Can it be instrumental by blame or praise?
It might be translatable that way, but grammatically it is a feminine locative.
Feminine locative. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I think the answer again would be perhaps one could translate it in a locative instrumental sense, maybe, but the grammatical form is feminine locative, I believe. Okay, now we have a few more. Anda buto ayang loko, tang nu keta vipassati, sakunu jala mutova, Apo Sagaya Gachati. So here, Anda Bhuto. I think Anda literally means darkness. And so it would be something like having become dark in a literal sense, but I think maybe a better translation would be become blind or blinded. And ayang is our demonstrative, a very close demonstrative pronoun. Loko is the world. So this world is blinded, or this world has become blind. If one wants to capture the flavor of Bhutto, maybe become blind. Tanu keta vipassati. So here we have that other verb that looks a bit like what we had before, but this is vi plus passati. So have insight. And tanuk would be Tanuka would be few, and eta is the word for here. So that compound means here, few, or few here, see, or have insight, probably. And then we have our simile, and that is, we can tell this va, which is stuck together as with jala muto, but it's really iva, like, which introduces our simile, but it's been elided together. So like sakuno, like a bird, jala muto. So a jala is a net. You might have heard of the Brahma Jala, this very famous sutta from the Digha Nikaya, sometimes translated as the divine net. And muto is liberated. So like a bird, liberated from a net. Apo sagaya gachati. Apo is few. Gachati, go. Sagaya, to heaven. Would be dative. So this world has become blind. Few here have insight. Like a bird released from a net, few go to heaven. Okay. I can move on. Again, please feel free to raise your hand. I think we have a question from Pat.
Hi, I just wanted to ask a quick question about the word jalamuto. There's a
hello.
What's the apostrophe va about? Is that just the or?
Okay, so this is this second half is introducing a simile, and the simile is introduced with the word like, English word like, and this is Eva. So the word is Eva, and it means like, and it's since it's coming together with Jalamuto, the I drops out.
Okay. This wasn't familiar with the word Eva. Okay, now I got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Catherine, did you have a question? Your hand is still up, but I'm not sure if it's been up. Maybe not. Okay, then we'll go on. Another one. So this is from the same one, I guess, Pandita Vago. Very famous one. Uda kanhi nayanti netika usu kara namayanti tejanang darung namayanti tachaka atanang damayanti pandita. So here, a netika, so this is actually related, by the way, to the word vinaya. So the naya of vinaya is leading, and the V would be leading away from, and then I think that would refer to renunciation. And it takes various forms, like nayanti, which would be the verb to lead. There's the word nayaka, which means a leader, like a leader of a sangha. And then a netika is one who is making we can say here it's a canal maker, or a thing that leads water. So here, the udakang is water. It's being joined with the he, which is that kind of word that means indeed or truly. So udakang is really this word plus he, water indeed or water truly. And then here it sort of joins together with that other nasal. And the second one, usukara. So an usu is a word for an arrow. An usu maker would be an arrow maker. Namayanti is to bend, and a tejana is another word for an arrow. And so an arrow makers, that's plural, bend an arrow. I think the idea is that they straighten them, because of course if the shaft of an arrow is not straight, it won't fly in a straight path. And then we have darung namayanti tachaka. So tachaka is a carpenter. Here it's plural. So a carpenter's namayanti, again, bend, the same one as the arrow maker. Darung, wood, accusative. And finally, pandita, wise ones. Damayanti, that is the word to tame. We've had this before in past participle, dhamma. Tame atanang, themselves. The wise one tame themselves. Let me read for you K.R. Norman's translation. Truly, that would be the he, canal makers lead water. Fletchers, that's a fancy word for an arrow maker, bend the arrow straight. Carpenters bend wood. Learned men tame the self. Okay, so that's our selections from Dhammapada. I hope they didn't present too many problems. I hope that you were able to translate them all successfully. Even if you weren't able to fully form a coherent translation, what's really most important at this point is to make sure you understand how a translation equals the Pali. Why? So you can line them up and see, oh, yeah, I see. This is how this translation comes to be. Okay, any further translation questions from Dhammapada? Any questions at all? Diane, any questions? Did you have a good time translating these verses?
Oh, always.
Okay.
I used the word fashion instead of bend, so that the Fletchers fashioned the arrow shaft and the carpenters fashioned the wood.
Okay.
Because it was in the book, I think, in the glossary. It used that word.
Okay. The word namayanti is, I guess literally it has the sense to bend. This is related to the verb namasati, which also means to bend, and Buddhaghosa gives a very fanciful etymology explaining that the word nama means it's explained by this verb, meaning that the nama bends towards the object. But I don't think that's the real official etymology, but it's kind of charming. But fashion is fine too. Okay, any other questions, Diane?
Not from me.
Okay, then
You've got Ken
I have
raised his
Ken.
hand.
Yes. Ken, how are you?
I'm good. You translated the wise control themselves, and I was just trying to figure out whether atanang was singular accusative or...
Yeah, I translated Dhammayanti as tame, I think. Atanang, it's kind of a good question, because I know that in our book, in Ger, they give singular and plural forms of that word. But as far as I can tell, the singular kind of is for both. And so I guess one can say it is officially a singular accusative, but I would translate it as a plural accusative.
So would it be wrong to say the wise control the self?
I guess that's possible too.
Okay.
It's a little more metaphysical and hard for me to understand what it might mean, but I think it's possible. It's because it is the atta. Yes, that would be okay, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sharosha,
Hi, Stephen.
how are you?
Good, you?
Okay, tell me your Dhammapada story.
So, number 82. Evam Dhammani Sutvana. Dhammani, is it Dhamma is masculine, isn't it? So
Yeah.
How does the ani ending work out? Like, I'm not sure. Because it's accusative neuter, right?
That is
ani.
right. It's a good question. I was wondering if somebody was going to ask me that question. Okay. And I wasn't sure of the answer because, yes, Dhammo is masculine.
Yes.
Dhammo Dhamme would be the correct declension. But I'm guessing here, Ivang Dhammani Sutvana. To get 8 syllables, perhaps, it was transformed into a neuter plural because Dhamme would be 2 syllables. Dhammani would make us have 3 syllables. So Evang Dhammani Sutvana becomes 8, you see?
I see. Okay.
So I'm saying my story is for the reason of the meter. It has been morphed into this weird form that is not official.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. If there are no other questions, then we can move on to another reading. From the back to the world of the Anguttara Nikaya, the Book of Twos, Dukkha Nipata, Sukhavaggo, the chapter on sukha, pleasure or happiness. So here we start at 64. Dve mani bhikkhave sukhane. Kattamani dve. So here, there are these two types of happiness. What are the two? Gihi sukhang cha pabajita sukhang. Pabajita sukhang cha. So here, the word gihi means the happiness of a householder. It's not the common word for a house, which is usually gaha or even geha. But here the sense of it is the happiness of a non-monastic. We could sometimes translate that as a householder. But really maybe in English would be, or the happiness of one who has gone forth. So a pabajita is a person who has gone forth, so to speak, from the home to the homeless life. So of course that would mean a monastic, a renunciate, a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni. So these are the two types of happiness. Imani ko bhikkhave dve sukhani. These are indeed, O monks, are the two happinesses. And then we have this construction, etad agang bhikkhave imesang dvinang sukhanang yadidang babajita sukhang ti. So here, etad agang, this one is best. So etad would be this, or this one, and aga has the sense of a point or an apex, or perhaps the best, the highest, the greatest, the best one, and that goes with yadidang. But here we have imesang dvinang sukhanang, so this is all genitive plurals. Of these two happinesses is namely pabajita sukhang. So here again, the one that is best of these two happinesses is the one of going forth. So notice that the etad agang and the yadidang sort of complete each other, and I have in green imesang dvinang sukhanang. So that would be our genitive and genitive plural. Of course, dvinang is already plural, genitive of number two, of these two happinesses. Okay, I hope that's clear. Maybe somebody would like to do 65. Shirosha?
Okay, I'll read it first.
Yes, please.
Dve mani bhikkhave sukhani. Katamani dve. Kama sukham cha nekama sukham cha. Imani ko bhikkhave dve sukhani. Etadaggam bhikkhave imesam dvinam sukhana. Yadidam nekama sukhamti. So there are two kinds. O monks, there are two kinds of happiness. What two? Kama sukham, I translated as sensual happiness.
Okay.
And nekama sukham as the happiness of renunciation.
Exactly. Right. So kama, sensual desire, sensuality, something like that. It's just as you said. Good.
So imani ko bhikkhave dve sukhang, these are the two kinds of happiness.
Yes.
Etadaggam bhikkhave imesam dvinam sukhanam. This one, O monks, is the best of these two types of happiness. Yadidam nekama sukhamti, namely the happiness of renunciation.
Very good. Very clear. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm hoping for more people to raise their hand so we can do more of these. So please, this is your chance to shine. Who would like to do 66? Ken. Okay, let me unmute you. Ken, would you like to do read verse 66?
Didaimani bikave sukani, katamani dide upari sukang cha nirupari sukang cha imani ko bikave dve sukani. Etadagang bikave imesang divininang sukanang yadidang nirupari sukang ti.
Good. It's just one thing is sukhanang, but that's the genitive suffix.
Sukhanam, yes.
Good. So tell us your translation.
All right. Monks, there are these two types of happiness.
Okay.
What two? The happiness of attachment and the happiness of detachment. Indeed, monks, there are two types of happiness. Monks, of these two types of happiness, this one is better, namely happiness of renunciation. And I just need to say, I was an English teacher for many years. So if you're comparing two, you don't use best. Best is only used for more than two. So that's why I use better.
Okay, fine. Yeah, better. It's just that in the Pali, the aga is the best. So
I understand. I'm just explaining why I use better.
It's the better of the two. Very good. And okay, thank you. So we'll look for now for somebody for the next one. I just want to say a quick word about the very difficult to translate, I think, word upadi. In fact, Diane will know that we spent a lot of time on this word in the Sutta and the City group. And it's related to the word, but not etymologically, upadana, taking up. And I looked at Venerable Bodhi's translation of this very text, and of course, unsurprisingly, perhaps he has a footnote. And he tells us upadi is described in the commentary as the 5 aggregates, kilesas, volitional activities. And so at the word attachment is okay, but for better or worse, the word upadi has this very big philosophical context, which I find very hard to unpack in a translation. It's also sometimes translated as the substratum of one's accumulations. So this is not a correction, but I'm just saying that it's a very interesting word to kind of look into. I think the Buddha was able to capture a very broad spectrum of meanings and connotations when he used this word, upadi. Okay, then we can move on to 68. Hi there. Punang Sud.
There are 2 types of happinesses for people. Satmani Gray, this 2. Samasam Sir Sukham, Nirasam Sir Sukham. Samasam means having or with amisam material substance, and not Niramisam not characterized by material substance. These are the 2 types of happiness. Imani ko bhikkhave Gray Sukhani. These are the 2 types of happinesses, O bhikkhu. Ekatagam bhikkhave. This one is best or at the top, mainly O bhikkhu. Of these 2, Imesam Divinam, of these 2, Sukhanam, Yadidam, Niramisam, Sukham, Ti. Of these 2 happinesses, that is not characterized by material substance.
Okay. Your connection was a little bit hard for me to understand, but I think I heard enough that you were exactly right. And thank you. The word amisa has a lot of meanings. It could actually mean like meat or flesh. It also could mean bait. And the prefix sa here has the sense of saha, with. So with this amisa. I think in this context, it's probably maybe translated as worldly happiness. The happiness of this fleshy world. And so near amisang, that would be the negated form, would be maybe translated as spiritual happiness. Happiness not born of this flesh in a sort of literal sense. That sounds a little weird, perhaps. So yes, thank you. And we have two more. Maybe Diane, would you like to do 69 for us?
Okay. Dve mani bhikkhave sukhani. Katamani dve arya sukhamcha anarya sukhamcha. Imani ko bhikkhave dve sukhani. Etadagam bhikkhave imesam dvinam sukhanam yadidam arya sukhamti. Dve mani bhikkhave sukhani. Oh, never mind.
So tell us your translation.
So, monks, there are these two types, two kinds of happiness. What two? The happiness of the noble and the happiness of the ignoble.
Or maybe we can say noble happiness and ignoble happiness.
Ignoble happiness. Indeed, monks, there are these two types of happiness. And the Etadagam, this is the best, O monks, of these two kinds of happiness, namely the happiness is noble happiness.
Right, or the happiness of the nobles, noble happiness. Yes, that's fine. Good. Tell me, please, what case is imesang in?
Imesang and dvinam and sukhanam, they're all genitive.
Good. Good. Just checking. Very good. Thank you.
I liked the word aga when I looked it up in the dictionary because it had three meanings. It had for time, it's first, for space, it's highest, and for quality, it's best. And I just thought that was kind of charming.
Yeah, but now I hear we can't say best, so we have to say better.
Okay.
Maybe we could say better of the two, because that would capture a genitive sense. The better of the two. Okay, good. Thank you, Diane. Okay, now we have two hands, but only one. Well, we'll see what we can do. Pat, for 70.
Yeah. Okay, so Femani bikave sukhani, katamani dve, kayikang jasukang, jitasikang jasukang, imaniko bikave dve sukhani, etadagang bikave imesang dvinang sukhanang yadidang jitasikang sukang ti.
Mm-hmm.
So there are these two, O monks, two types of happiness.
Right. So the there are piece of that sentence is sort of understood, but not literally there. Right. Okay. The verb to be is skipped, but implied.
So which two, or what two are they? Kayikang is like bodily, I take it.
Right.
Bodily happiness, and Chetasikang, mental happiness.
Right. So this Chetasika is not the Abhidhamma Chetasika, but really just relating to the Chetas, the mind, just as you've said. Thank you. Go on.
Let's see, I'm not entirely sure about this line, but something like, these two, O monks, are the two kinds of happiness.
Yeah. So what is Imani?
It's a plural.
Mm-hmm. Plural.
Not a nominative, I don't think it's something else.
I think it's a plural neuter nominative. These, indeed, O monks, are the two happinesses.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Something
These
like
these
that.
indeed, the co-explain. So it's sort of saying, it's resuming or sort of summarizing.
But ko
So
is sort of an intensifier, which we often don't translate, but it means something like indeed, certainly, something like that.
Now I face the dreaded best question.
Okay, good luck. People are listening.
Yeah, English teachers even. Let's see. Ito dagang I've was okay. So namely, O monks, these two happinesses, of these two happinesses, the mental happiness. Let's see. Sorry. The better of these two, O monks, happinesses. Yeah, I'm screwing it up. Is the mental happiness, something to that effect. Of these two happinesses, O monks, the mental happiness is the happier. I give up.
Yeah, so maybe we could take etad as one, as like in terms of this. So the better one, etad agang, imesang divinang sukhanang, of these two, is implied. Not yadidam is namely. We don't maybe even need that. We could just say is. Arya chetasikang, so the happiness of the mind. So yes, sometimes it becomes awkward to translate in a literal sense, and people who are very knowledgeable English speakers start scratching their head. But I think you did a good job. Thank you. Okay, so those are the readings from the Book of Twos. We have one more left, but we only have 4 minutes. So perhaps we won't really dive into it. So this is from the Book of Fives. I was just looking if there's anything I should say as a grammatical point, or maybe I'll just ask, were there any questions when you looked at this that were not clear? And we will cover it again. I mean, not again. We will cover it thoroughly next week. So if you were not sure about anything in this reading, you can ask that question now. If not, then we'll leave it for our next time. I assume that everyone has gone through it carefully. Oh, okay. Hang on, we have a Punang. Are you there?
Yes. In the word ekadagram, aga or ago means at the top also. So can't we translate it as this is at the top among these two?
I'm sorry, I can't understand you. There's a lot of interference. Maybe try again slower.
Ago means at the top. So in the word ekadagram, can we translate it as this is at the top among these two?
No, I can't understand you. Maybe Diana, are you able to understand better from your listening point?
No, I can't. There's so much interference.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't hear you very clearly. Perhaps what we could do is if you can join the class on Monday, your connection will be better. I apologize, but I literally can't make out your words. Let's try Bonita.
Yeah, Stephen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. While I was translating the Rajavaggu, that's the 131.
Yes.
I was a little not sure about the word atanyu.
Aha.
Atanyu.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
What is that?
I thought it was self.
No, it's not. I'm glad you asked this question.
Yeah.
So let me explain that very quickly because that's a good question. So atta here is this one of maybe the benefit or the goodness. That's artha. It's not the self. It's not atman, not at all.
Oh.
So it's atta in the sense of this word can also mean like the meaning, but here it has the good, the benefit. And this is then maybe broken up nya, which is a root to know. So it's like related to janati, to know. So this is the root and it's used as somewhat of a suffix, and then this ending makes this into, this long U ending makes it into a noun. And so putting this together, and this is somehow assimilates to the double N, means one who knows the benefit, or one who knows the good. And so here, and going forward, this is Dhamma, one who knows the Dhamma, because it's Dhamma plus this Nya, this knowing, plus this you, which makes it this abstract noun, the one who knows the Dhamma. Matanyu would be the one who knows the measure, the right measure, the right amount. Kalanyu would be one who knows the proper time, because kala is time. And parisanyu would be the one, or one who knows the assembly. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that I think, yeah, now I'm clear, because I got a little confused with that word.
Yes,
And
it's a
I was
confusing.
wondering how the knowing word would fit into that.
Yeah, it's janati would be the sort of maybe the verb, which is based, as you know, on that root nya. And so the nya is moving to the double palatal N, and then the U ending makes this a noun.
Noun. Okay. Thank you very much, Stephen. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. So I think we'll end here because we're pretty much out of time. And we will resume our final 2 classes next week, where I hope we can finish, of course, we'll finish our further readings number 4, and we'll do some of lesson 5. And so we've come so far, and I hope you all can sort of stick with it to the very end. I appreciate all your hard work, and I will see you all next week. And have a great time. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.